Reed.
I have never seen anybody this bad on MSNBC. And by the way, I wasn't a fan of Joy Reid.
Uh-huh.
Um, by the way, I got something on here that says the
Reed.
content of this meeting
What?
is being sent to a
I
third
have
party.
never.
Say it again.
I just got something on there. I just took it off. The content of this meeting is being sent to a third party.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no. What did you say? The content of this meeting is doing what?
Is being sent to a third party.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm streaming it to YouTube for backup.
Oh,
I do that usually. And then sometimes it's people watching it, you know. But
well, for
yeah,
them,
that's what I just turned on. So you
for
got
them, you have my most profound apologies for everything we've said and everything we're going to say.
you don't have to apologize. Nobody's listening.
Well, somebody might have turned it on by
You have to
accident.
make there's a new comedian out who's completely politically incorrect named Quinn Dale, Quinn Dale, but he's hysterical. I love him. His
Well,
what's funniest joke was he says, I'm woke, I'm woke. I go in the ladies' bathroom because, gee, biologically I'm a man, but in my inner self, I'm a pervert.
well, actually, they caught one kid in one school, which is a very progressive school. This is how I heard it. The Supposedly some kid was just saying anytime he wanted to go to the ladies' room and spy on all the women, he would just say, "I identify as female." So
Yeah.
finally,
Duh. That's, how many people do that? Duh. That's what they're
but
doing with the prisons.
well, the principal finally, who was supposedly, this
But the
very
principal, the principal probably says, hey, that's my gig.
no, the principal said, and he was this very woke, pro DEI, very much so, and he said, no, no, you're not getting away with that. And to be quite honest, I'll never forget. I'll tell you this story. Um, One time, my father, this is 30, 40 years ago or something. This is the way I heard the story, at least. My father was doing working for one of his clients. I mean, doing his taxes basically. And my father had this appearance that, well, put it this way, he was always in charge. He was always in charge. He would tell his clients what to do. He'd say, "Don't argue with me. This is what you're going to do." So, of course, the people, whenever he went over to one of these businesses, the people would think he was the boss, the top boss that came in for a day. Well, anyway, this one woman, he said to her, he said, "Honey, could you get me a cup of coffee?" She brought him a cup of coffee. She was very nice, polite. And the next day or something, she quit, and then she charged the company with sexual harassment. And they said, "What sexual harassment?" And, "Oh, your boss, your top guy, the big chief, he um, he used sexual harassing language with me." And they said, "Who was that?" They said, "That big tough, the tough looking guy, that tough guy that comes in." He said, "Oh, that's Herb. He's our CPA. He doesn't work here." And and then she quit. First she charged him, and then she resigned. So
Oh,
head
she
of the
didn't,
firm,
I would imagine she'd say, well, how much money does he have?
well, she just,
You know, she's just,
anyway.
I
Yeah,
think like 70% of these kind of Title
well,
and lawsuits that I've seen are just crap,
yeah, but
trying to
the
make money.
the kicker to the story is, so he decided, or one of the people at the firm suggested that they call the National Organization of Women, right? Which was one at that time, one of the chief women's rights, what they used to call women's liberation organizations.
Feminazis.
Well, you know something? They said they went after this woman.
Yeah.
When they caught up with her, they made sure that she was prosecuted.
Oh,
And the guy who worked for the firm, one of the people who worked at that firm said, "Jesus, right? I mean, you don't have to get so vehement." And the woman from the National Organization of Women said, "You don't understand. people like that ruin our movement.
Yeah.
And they said, we have, she's not pro women's rights. She's pro her
Yeah.
and however much money she can get for her. And they said, "No, we don't need people like that distorting, the very idea of sexual harassment." So a lot of times, the most progressive people, I mean, well, put it this way: the people who are the most fervent adherents to that cause are the people who are going to go after the people who are abusing it or trying to capitalize on it for their own gain. And it makes sense.
All right. I would think there'd be to have twice as many incidents of that as anything legitimate. There's an issue. Like, I think most kids growing up, I know it included me, we always kind of plot and scheme of how could we go from the boys' locker room and in one of the lockers, drill a hole so we can look through and watch the girls getting dressed.
Yeah.
Right? That's like a dream. Or geez, what would be
Right.
your if you had three wishes? Well, I'd like to be invisible so I could walk into the girls' locker room.
Right. Right. Right.
Now that's a natural thing. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with trying to see naked women. It's absolutely normal.
Well,
Now somebody could say, no, that's bad. It's rude. You should be respectful of someone's privacy. But, I didn't know what a female anatomy was until the first time I saw it, you know. So
well,
it's a
Matt,
natural phenomena. It's a natural function to seek sexual activity.
how could you not
All
know?
species, all
And
species.
how could you not know? Weren't you sneaking around the stationery store looking at the porn magazines in the back? Come on.
No, I stole a few, but I
Oh, okay.
caught. I am so lucky. The newspaper, the guy who was running the store, I don't know how old I was. Maybe I was 8 or 9, and I would buy a newspaper and put a magazine in the middle of it. And he
Yeah.
caught me, and he just whacked me over the head with the newspaper. He said, "Get the hell out of here!"
Yeah.
I
But you
could have
see,
ruined my life.
there's nothing wrong with wanting to see women naked.
Or
There is
seeing
there is something wrong with seeing them naked
why.
because it's their privacy. And if they want to show you their bodies, there are topless clubs all over the place. Although you have to be a certain age to get in.
Yeah,
But
yeah, 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 yeah. That when we went up, I was remember somebody's bar mitzvah up in the Catskills, and we went to my parents. We just went to a show at night, and there was some they and artistic dancers, not
right,
completely naked. They had tassels, but it was
yeah,
like, duh, look at that. So I'm just saying it's normal phenomena. The attraction to the opposite sex is normal, or sexual activity,
right.
and in a
But
covert way. That's the other part of it. It seems like it isn't a genuine thing of like, hey, let's go for a bike ride. It's like secret. The desire to experience sexual perception.
well, yeah, it's your fantasies and everything. But
But
the
it's
idea,
secret. It's secret. It's like you do it in the closet when nobody's looking. You don't want anybody to know you're doing it.
but if a woman says, "Hey, do you want to see me naked?" You're going to say, "Sure," and then you can look at it. But if a woman doesn't want you to see her naked, then she's got a right to say, "You can think whatever you want, and you can imagine whatever you want, but don't interfere with my life about it."
Well, it
So,
depends on the society you're in. But yeah, I mean, I can appreciate that. I'm just saying it's a natural urge and it shouldn't be ostracized and used as a thing of guilt, of sort of like saying, well, you already had an apple. You shouldn't want to eat two of them. That's your evil because you want two bananas or two, come on. It's that there's natural urges that people have. Otherwise, there would be no people.
well, actually, yes, exactly. But I don't think. I mean, most people I know who are, um, um, respecting privacy. Most people I know,
Yeah,
they're not worried about what you're thinking or what you want. They're worried. They just said, "Hey, everybody wants a lot of things." You walk into a store and you say you want that magazine, and you don't have enough money, so you say, "Well, I'm going to take it," but you don't because you control yourself.
uh-huh.
Okay, sure. I mean, everybody would like to just go in to any store they wanted with no money and take stuff,
Yeah.
but we can't. We can't have a society that way. So it's the same thing. You're allowed to want to do things, to think things. I mean, nobody's controlling people's thoughts yet, but but the fact is that you got to say there are some things, some thoughts that you could put into fruition, and some that you can't,
Well,
and
there's a marked difference between different cultures. This is funny thing here. I watch a lot of YouTube clips, these what they call shorts.
yeah.
And so there was a clip of this famous or renowned, not famous, but well-known movie with Sally Fields, where her husband, she's trying to rescue her child from Iran. And the scene is she's talking to somebody in immigration in Iran. And she says, "Look, I was born in America. My child was born in America. I have an American passport. I'm an American citizen. So is my daughter. We're going home." And the woman there says, "I'm sorry, you're in Iran. And in Iran, you're married to an Iranian man, and that makes you Iranian and your child Iranian, and you're subject to Iranian laws. And that means you don't go anywhere or do anything without your husband's permission. And the same thing goes for your daughter." So it's a completely different cultural standard. And I'm not even condemning it. I'm saying it's different. It's a different society.
Hmm.
Our society's changed over the years, like England in the 1600s or the 1800s or whatever, or it's different between New York and LA. The cultures are different, and New Yorkers are like pizza, number one thing, very important. Not that big in LA. It's in LA more like vegan and surfing, and there's just cultural differences. So that's normal. I don't think it's that unusual to say what is accepted as right or wrong varies. Oh, they just passed the thing. You know how in New York you cross whenever it's feasible, right? They don't call that jaywalking. So they just passed a law in last year in Los Angeles, at least, and I think maybe for all of California. You can jaywalk as long as it doesn't interfere with traffic. In other
Hmm.
words, there's no cars coming, go ahead, go across the street. As long as you're not going to cause somebody to slow down or hit their brakes or something. So it has to be safe. But that's a change, and the same thing with turn right on red. That was a California thing. I guess they have that in New York now, right? Can make a right red light.
I don't think they had, not in New York City.
Oh, really?
Tell him.
So that came from our culture out here. So little
Well,
things like that, or
well,
oh,
that's
oh, I was shocked when in China. There's a fad of these skinny. There's a lot of skinny girls, long legs, and kind of cute with a lot of makeup, like China dolls, because they have usually miniaturized features. They don't have like a nose like this. They have like little tiny noses and big eyes, so they're cute. But they wear
mhm,
shorts. You know,
right.
And I can't figure that out because you think of it as being such a restricted society, disciplined by the CCP. How can they walk around like that in such provocative shorts, very short. Even with the length of the skirt is the length of their body between their legs, wherever it's about that level. So you would see their panties or something. It's I just culturally I would have thought they would have dresses down below the knee, at least in a conservative place like China. I think of China as being conservative, not not raw, not like New Orleans or something, but more like Amish. But
Yeah.
you get different cultures, different things.
Um, well, and cultures change. Let's face
Yeah.
that.
When you go to Normandy, things are different there, right? A little bit with the public than they are in New York or in Toronto or wherever. You come from Canada or you just spent time up there?
No, I just spend time up there. I wish I could stay there, but
Oh, so Quebec is different than Albany and so
yeah.
forth.
But the idea is that the problem happens when these cultural things start interfering with somebody else's basic rights. Like, in other
That's
words,
a, that's right. Yeah, that's a cultural thing. The
right.
Germans don't have that so much. They're like, I remember Grace and I were sitting in a train going from. I mean, we're not real travelers. It's just a rare occurrence that we were somewhere else, but we were going from Italy to Switzerland, and we're talking to a woman there, and she says, "No, a lot of Germans live here." And I say, "What do you think of them?" He says, "Oh, they're very intrusive and disciplinarian." And just as she said that, some woman said, "That you take your feet off the chair, you pig." Oh, crap.
Well,
Just as she was saying it, some German
yeah,
woman told us, "You will behave yourself. Take your feet off the chair."
well,
You
you
know,
see, a
so
lot of these
they can be
people,
intrusive like that too. It's a
yeah, and it has to do with how they're raised, and what's passed on from one generation to the other, and
That's right.
but
Social contamination or social assimilation, one or the other.
when you get to a society that says, a man has a right to kill his wife, okay, now you're getting a little beyond the pale.
Well,
I
yeah,
mean,
but in this country, you got a woman has a right to kill her fetus.
yes, and believe me, Ken,
Yeah,
if you one day look even remotely like a fetus, Grace would grab the opportunity and retroactively abort you. No, a woman has no. We decide, for instance, in this society, you decide when life. We've been fighting over that for a couple of 100 years. But
yeah.
I mean, in some societies, they basically have to say when is somebody when they are alive. The rule I've heard most often is when the fetus becomes a sentient being. In other words, when it's able to think and actually know it's feeling pain, let's say. So,
Yeah, it's a little bit scientific. I don't.
yeah, well,
I
that's what it
think
is.
pragmatically, I would say, seriously, I'm not joking. I would think a woman has a right to have an abortion up to 2 weeks after she gives birth,
Yeah, right,
because she could have given birth to a mongoloid child or something, and the child is innocent and all it is, and it's got a lot of emotional attachment to it. So I'm half joking, but half being trying to be practical.
well,
If
yeah,
a kid comes out and he's blind and deaf and dribbling, what are you going to do?
well, I believe that if a society says you can't have an abortion,
Yeah,
then they have to be willing to take care of that child totally.
the society pick it up as a foster child.
Society has
Yeah,
to take care of the child in a proper way, not put him in one of those horrific, Charles Dickens like um, um, homes for kids, for homeless kids. But the orphanages from Charles Dickens, I should say. But
well, I would argue it. I think that's a religious principle. That's my disagreement, because everybody, you and I too, but unfortunately, we will pass away someday, and it's not a question of if, it's when. And it varies. And some children will die in the first year because of an illness or an automobile accident. Everybody's going to die. So it's not significant that a child dies. And now, if you kill 500 children with a bomb, that's significant.
well,
That's mass murder.
it's
But one,
significant for
one
one
kid,
reason.
one kid dies because the woman left the kid. Well, when a mother leaves a kid in a car and they die from heat, they
Yeah,
prosecute her because you want to make impingement on the public not to do that. So
right,
you have to weed out some punishment to set an example for other people. But
right.
but it's not that significant. It's sort of like,
Well,
okay, the child's dead. I know you're upset, but I've seen people upset because a turtle passed away. I mean it, a real turtle.
wait. Can
Yeah,
there's a difference, and also the
yeah.
child. Once a child can think and know they're feeling pain and know they're feeling things, a child. In other words, the reason we say what is a child, for instance? When does childhood end? When does adulthood begin? Um, it's varied over the years, but we do agree that when a child is not able to control his own life, he should at least live to the point till he can, till he can make his own choices and do what he wants to do outside of the family.
That would be when he's sentient.
No,
He has willpower, self-determined. He
no,
can decide.
when he has the right to do that.
He or she has can be self-determined about how long they're going to take shitting or what they want to
Oh,
eat.
no, no, no. I mean, when they have the, let's call it political or social power to do that. So if somebody
16?
says you need your parents' permission to do things, in other words, your parents have control over you until you're 18. Well, then, and then they don't have any more control over you. Well, then at 18, you're an adult.
Yeah.
It depends upon the age that the society sets it at. And also when most people are emotionally and mentally mature so that they can make those decisions rationally.
Well, okay, except for the recently discovered fact that men are emotionally immature until they're 25,
Men are emotionally immature until they're 95. But
Okay.
I mean, we're at the bottom of the barrel as far as immaturity to between
But most women will support that. I don't know. But yeah. I don't want to argue that. That's fine. It's a discussable item. My point of view is that though you will run into societies that have different standards,
Mhm.
and you can't. I will not condemn a society because they violate the customs of a country that I come from. You know,
Well, but if
even
they
even when
violate,
you have American immigrants who judge Americans living in America, they judge Americans who fail to follow customs or standards that they had when they were growing up in a foreign country. He's not a look at him. He doesn't respect the holidays or something, whatever it is.
well,
And
I think you can agree on though when you if you have a society that says I don't care whether it's your fault, whether you had any control over it, or whether you wanted to be in that position. If you or if you're not guilty of it, we have a right to kill you if we think you put you to death if we think you're guilty. Well, obviously, in something like that, you're going to say, okay, that's too far. No, you don't have a right to. That's why we say things like you got to have evidence, you got to give him a trial, you got to have to be able to prove somehow that he did do it, because when people, if you accuse somebody of doing something that they didn't do, and you kill them for it, let's say sentence them to death, you have taken an innocent life, and that is should be beyond the pale of any society. Now, there are societies where they say it doesn't matter about guilt or innocence. Those societies usually are self-destructive societies, and they'll take other societies with them. So the other societies that don't think that way are going to say, no, 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 you're not pulling us into that wormhole. And I mean, that's why we get Nazi Germany. People say, no, 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 I don't care whether or not it's their own society. They're not entitled to do what they want. People said that about the most fervently communist countries, about Stalin's Russia and Mao in China. No, 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 no. You don't have a right to control people to that extent. And the idea is that, yeah, we do have a common denominator in that sense based on our humanness, right? In other words, the basic right the right to life, the right to live, not the right to life in terms of abortion. But the fact is that, you don't have a right to kill me on a whim. You don't have a right to say, you know what, I like your home, I'm taking it. Because no society can continue to exist with those kind of rules.
uh so
Everybody take everybody else's stuff.
right. What about? I'm just going to bring up this is an oddball thing. it probably doesn't matter because it hardly ever occurs in this country, executing a deserter.
Well, we did execute deserters during World War II.
Yeah, I
You know,
know.
we only, excuse me, we executed one,
Right.
but they were threatened with execution. And I think I see Daryl's photo on there. I know you're here, Daryl.
Yeah, well, he's now there's the real Daryl. The photo's gone, and here's Daryl. Come on, Daryl. Could you adjust the camera so we could see you a little bit? Handsome guy there.
You
What's
don't
it
have to do
say?
that, Daryl. You can't see me. Why should you have to do something I don't have to do?
What does that say on your?
Because I need you to write my screenplay.
There you go.
Oh, oh gosh. No. Get somebody who's literate.
Mike,
What
what
screen?
happened? I apologize for crosstalk. Tell me when I can talk.
Now.
Now, we're involved in a discussion that you could participate in. We were talking about the civilized concept that you don't have the right to execute somebody unless they deserve it for capital crimes or something. You just can't kill somebody unless you prove that he's guilty of a significant crime of killing one or more people. And uh,
and now,
and now I was bringing up, no, no, not not by mistake or something, but the government doing it. So, and one case is in World War II. I think we at least executed at least one guy for deserting, but the law says you could execute people for deserting in the U.S. So that would be barbaric because the guy didn't commit any crimes. He just didn't want to fight. He was afraid. He shouldn't be executed.
wasn't that
Eddie Slow.
C. Scott um Patton?
No, he got, I mean, I only saw the movie. I never met the guy. He got court martial for calling a soldier a coward and slapping him. That's what was the movie was.
Well, he also said the
Yep,
guy they shoot him. Yeah.
And they also said he
but,
should shoot him for deserting or not wanting to fight.
but there was somebody executed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eddie Slovic.
And he,
Yeah,
Private Eddie Slovic.
and who did the execution?
And they got, well, I mean, who did it? They got a firing squad of American soldiers. And I forget who the general was. I mean, a couple of generals had to sign off on it.
Okay,
So,
so the deal is this: we go to Good Search, we look it up, and we don't have to remember it out of our heads because we're old and refusing to use the technology available to us.
well, that's because some of us can't use the technology, don't know how. But I'm on the job now. I'm about to.
on the principle, should the government have and the military have the principle to execute deserters?
Nobody should have no one should have the right to kill anybody ever.
uh,
Oh, no, no, no. If you got now hold it a minute. If you got a guy with a bomb in the schoolyard, you could shoot him 10 times. You could stop him from firing the bomb and killing 100 kids. There's nothing wrong with murder like that, killing him. I mean, it's not murder. If you want to define murder as unjustified killing, that's yes, people don't have a right to murder. But to kill somebody, sure. Even when they put somebody out of the misery. What about euthanasia? You're helping kill somebody who doesn't want to suffer anymore. They want to leave. It's just being too touchy. Everybody's going to die sooner or later. I was thinking, I'm a little bit confused when I hear about these court cases where some crook or a burglar winds up killing the guy in the house, but the guy in the house is 92 years old. How much longer is he going to live? So, okay. So you took away 7 years out of the guy's life. So you got to go to jail for 10 years, maybe, depending on how old you are. But it isn't as significant as killing somebody who's 30 or 40. I would think. That's what I think. You have to consider the damage done, which is the loss of X number of years, I think. But anyhow, so you can, don't you think, Daryl, don't you think there's an appropriate time to kill somebody?
No,
No, at all.
never, ever, ever,
What about
ever,
what about preventing
ever.
somebody from dying? Can you refrain from stopping somebody from dying?
Yes,
You can't. I can let you drink yourself to death.
people have autonomy. They can do whatever they want. That's what they do.
Okay.
Well, you mean so long as it doesn't prevent somebody else from doing what they want.
From you, Mike, I want to know what happened on October 7th, night, 2025.
No, 22.
2024.
Yeah.
2023. We'll split the difference.
2023.
So it's
It's
2023.
23 now? Oh my God. This is
Yeah,
a
the
totally
year.
insane.
Yeah, and there's
Yes.
still
Can you tell me what happened on that day?
everything that happened.
Not everything, whatever you remember.
Well, I wasn't there. I mean, I don't
Well, that's
remember it.
the point. I'm getting from Haaretz that what the government of Israel is using as a reason to genocide the Palestinian people who already have the river to the sea. So them saying it is just confirming what they already have if you combine Gaza and the West Bank
Daryl,
as
I gotta
one
interrupt.
country.
Daryl, you got to tip the phone so that can you see yourself? There you go.
Oh, Jesus.
That's
I
much.
gotta hold this like this, man.
Yeah,
It's like, all right.
that's good.
I refrain from being a crybaby.
By the way,
Crybaby.
I think
Hey,
I think
how about this as a song title? Cry Baby.
yeah, that sounds.
Isn't that a song out of the 50s?
I think it's three song titles. Um,
Cry me a
but
river. You can
What
cry
about
a river, cry
Frank?
me.
Didn't Frankie Lane do? Can you look up really quickly YouTube
Yeah,
Frankie Lane and Cry Baby?
while he's looking that up, let me tell you about Eddie Slovik. His um his command. I mean, he was sentenced to death by a jury. In other words, a three-judge panel in the court martial. Um, the case was reviewed by Assistant Staff Judge Advocate Major Frederick J. Bartolet, who recommended against granting clemency. Brigadier
Damn,
General, Brigadier, listen to this, Brigadier
he's
General T.
cruel.
McNeil, the senior Army lawyer um, European theater, reviews Slovik's case, and he said he didn't recommend clemency. Lieutenant Colonel Henry J. Summer, the divisional judge advocate who had previously offered Slovik a final opportunity to have his charges dismissed, wrote, "The death sentence is deemed appropriate in this case." And then Eisenhower confirmed the execution order on December 23rd, noting that it was necessary to discourage further desertion. So ultimately, it went up to
So
Eisenhower.
ultimately, Eisenhower was the prick.
Well, he had the final say, and he said, "Go ahead and execute him."
And they got what 7 or 10 United States soldiers to execute this guy, right?
Yeah, a lot of guys. It was tough getting this. I heard. It wasn't in what I
Bottom
was.
line is, someone pulled a trigger that blew that man's brains out for no reason.
Well,
Well,
actually,
what they do is if they have five guys firing in the firing squad, one of them has a blank.
right,
You never know who did it and who didn't do it.
right.
Yeah, well, I'm sure Eddie appreciated that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure he appreciated it quite well. By the way, the
Well,
whole
he didn't have that much time to appreciate it. He was
uh,
gone. Soon enough, his miseries were over.
I don't believe anybody should be. There's another rule that used to be in the army. Um, I don't know if it was when you were in the service, Daryl, but which is if you
I was in
fall.
the Air Force, and I want to get someone has to interview Charles Q. I apologize. Finish your sentence, Mike.
Oh, no, I was going to say they used to be able to court martial you if you fell asleep on guard duty.
That's correct.
Right. Now, if
I was
somebody's
never in the Army, by the way. I was in the Air Force.
I know, I'm my correction. But I guess if you were on guard duty in the Air Force, it would have been the same thing, right?
Yeah, I imagine.
Now, here's my question. If you're dog tired and you hadn't slept in 2 days and you're
Doesn't
commanding,
matter.
right. So therefore, I don't think that's right. No one should be court-martialed for something that their body was insisting they do, where they can't control their body.
They
Um,
don't care.
I know, they don't care.
In the old days, they used to give you dexedrine.
Right. But if they were out of Benzedrine, the guy had to stay away. But if somebody's been in combat for 3 days in a row, huh, I mean, and he hasn't slept, how can he keep himself awake?
Jerk off.
If if you were fighting modern warfare, A, it wouldn't go much more than a day, day and a
Yeah.
half. Two, are you familiar with a weapon called, I have to look it up. I believe it's Red Dragon. Let me look it up.
I've
You know
heard
what the weapon is?
fill me in again. I certainly haven't heard of it. Yeah. Oh,
C17 or uh
Puff the
uh
Magic Dragon.
no.
No.
This this is it's an improvement. Either C17 or C130.
Yeah.
C130 carries a pallet of 9 cruise missiles.
Uh-huh.
Drop the pallet out the back. They're independently targeted.
Right.
And the C-17 carries 30 pallets, I believe. Not 30 pallets. Yeah, 30 pallets and 9 missiles to a pallet.
Yeah. Oh
Now,
God.
you want to end the Ukrainian war?
Well, nobody's used one of those yet there.
That's correct. What you do is you stand off in international territory, you ask the Russians to leave politely, or you're going to take out their whole army.
I wonder then why
So,
nobody.
no, wait a second. Generally speaking, warfare violates the concept that you shouldn't kill somebody if they didn't do something to justify being killed. You can have snipers just shooting whoever, and you try.
That's why I want to get a T-shirt with the T-shirt. I'm trying to find somebody to produce a T-shirt with a Palestinian child, bullet in the back of the head, one
Right,
drop of blood draining down in the back, and saying, "This is what your tax money is buying."
right. There you go.
Well, you know something, Daryl. Um,
Well, what
war
about the
killing.
justification of the guy who gave the order to kill the kids, or the guy who said, "Go out there with a gun and if you have to, kill people"? So that guy should be executed too because he's causing.
No,
Nope.
no execution.
Okay. So not even a murderer, a mass murderer or a serial killer.
Don't care.
Don't,
No murder.
no executions. Murder
Well,
is an illegal killing.
Ken, there's nothing. I mean, I'm against capital punishment also.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, I don't think taking a life for a life. Um,
Don't make
leave.
no sense to me.
Yeah.
especially when we're on the verge of buying Pacifica. Ken, you want to hear how to buy Pacifica?
Yeah, I've heard three or four guys come up and say, all we have to do is, get this donation from the credit cards.
No, I'm talking about this is real time.
Yeah,
What's the stock market today?
I will say it is what it is. It depends on what you,
No, what's the Dow Jones today?
whatever. It's a number. I don't know.
Come on, Ken, help me out. Go on the magic machine and tell me what the what the market is.
Oh, I didn't know I was working for you. Okay, wait a second. Let me take a look.
No, you're not. You can do what you want to do. I'm asking you to do
All right,
me a
all right.
favor because
I
I'm
do you a
trying to
favor.
get enough
What do
energy
you want to know?
to
What do you want to know? S&G or what?
yeah, S&P.
It's not S&P. It's
Yes, it is.
Yeah, there's an S&P.
oh, it is S
Thank you, Mike.
the 500. And the value is what's the number? It's showing everything, but not giving me the number. Interactive, blah, 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 blah. Okay. The S&P 500 went up to 5456.9.
Whoa.
Well, you know what happened?
54?
5456.9.
Damn, I missed it.
Yeah.
Something happened, which is that Trump decided to delay the tariffs on every country except China.
Yeah.
And he basically, by when that happened, the stock market went up.
But it went
And
up 10, it went up 1,000 points higher than it had ever been.
No. It hasn't even gotten up to the point where he first mentioned the tariffs. It's about halfway recovered.
What are you talking about?
What I just
It was
said.
at 41.
No.
Oh, Dow Jones. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, Dow Jones is now up to 2962.
Oh, okay, so it's 29.
Yeah,
Now
it
it was
was
at
what
40,
yeah.
it was at 42, let's say.
Yeah, but wait a second. I got a question for you, Daryl. What do you care about the stock market? It's mostly owned by people in the 1% or 10%.
no, that's not true.
Sure it is. There's pension funds that smaller
Right.
is involved in.
People with pensions are not in the top 1% necessarily.
Right. But it's mostly, it's just the stock market invested with speculators who live off of passive income and the labor of other people.
Right, exactly.
So what do you care where it goes?
Well, because other people.
He's not paying attention here. I want to get control of WBAI.
Oh, you
Yes,
run for the
me.
LSB.
No, they
Oh,
don't have
don't do that.
control over themselves. How are they gonna? I was just that's why I was late for the meeting. I don't know
Oh,
where Dingman is. He was at the LSV meeting just now.
he's probably still arguing with people.
No, he's not. They're
The
still,
meeting.
yeah, but their meeting is still going on, so maybe it's not over yet.
Yeah. Well, uh, I don't know. I mean, I would not encourage you to run for the local station board. That's for
I
sure.
don't want to run for the. So I said I want to buy the station.
Yeah.
I don't give a
But
damn about the station board. Station board ain't done nothing in what 20 years.
well, since I've been um, involved in it,
Remember?
yeah.
Are you
The
a member of BAI?
I'm actually not a member, thank God. Um, but they wanted me to run. I joined 1 year because somebody convinced me to run for the local station board. And when I found out what it was all about, I voted against myself.
Yeah.
You win or lose?
Oh, I lost. And
Oh,
I made sure of it.
and you made sure of it. So in essence, you won by losing.
Yes, in
Very
that sense, personally speaking. No, because I sat in on several LSB meetings, and I just said, no, 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 no.
Totally worthless, right?
What?
Totally worthless.
It was less than worthless. It
Okay,
was,
so could we get back to buying Pacifica?
yeah, but what, I mean, it's like buying a dead horse.
No, we buy Pacifica.
Yeah.
We go into every school, grade school and up. We get them, we offer them airtime, and that with what is the school program on BAI?
I don't know.
And we have well, good because it would be in your interest because we can promote. What are you currently doing? Or are you just totally retired and
Who?
not doing anything? Oh, crap.
Well, I don't do anything. I'm an actor
That's
and a,
not true. That's very important. That
well,
way we get the stories told.
you'd think
uh,
that would be the logical thing to do.
what?
Are you
Which one?
working currently?
Nope. The
Okay,
natural state of affairs for an actor is to not be working these days.
that's true. That's because people won't finance
Right,
perfectly good, vi- uh, perfectly good content,
right.
and people who are actors uh, aren't aware that they could put their stuff on the internet and people would actually watch them.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have these union regulations, which
Oh,
is
really?
that,
What is that? The union says you can't do free theater on the internet?
well, you can't do something in other words, as an actor, you're supposed to be hired. So if you hire yourself, you have to pay yourself. Um, it's a weird thing. You have to go through all this rigmarole, but people do
Really?
it.
That's SAG act. That's SAG
I
act.
got a friend. I got a friend who belongs to an acting club, and a lot of them are in New York, and they do Shakespeare and other plays over Zoom. But
You can do that also, but
if they're SAG members, they can't do that.
um, no, no, you can do these things, but the idea is that when somebody hires you,
Yeah.
there are rules as to when when they have to pay you. So if you put, for instance, I mean, if I do a play and somebody wants to film the play and put it on the internet, the union says I have to give them a waiver, but even if I'm allowed to give them a waiver, they still may have to pay me a certain minimum amount, and then if any profit is made, they have to share the profit with me. So a lot of people who are doing these things don't want to use union actors. In other words, if they're doing a play and they want to film it, then the union is preventing them from doing that. Um, but the logic of the union is no, we don't want actors taken advantage of, so we don't want them filmed and then somebody puts it on the internet or shows it somewhere and makes a lot of money off of it, and the actor got bupkis.
Yeah, I
So,
mean,
I mean,
if somebody made a lot of money on it, they wouldn't mind paying the actor. In other words, what if
uh,
you as a SAG member participate in Hamlet, and the guy who's producing it says, you get a tenth of a share. of anything we make for the first 5 years or
Yeah,
something. Does
you
that
can.
is that legal then with SAG?
Well, if you're making a deal, yeah, they could say you can get a percentage. What I mean, whatever the percentage is, I don't know. That, by the way, would not be if you're doing Hamlet on stage. It's covered by Actors Equity.
No, no,
So
on Zoom.
if you're doing it on Zoom, I believe it's covered by Actors Equity.
I thought SAG after was
Why?
going
What
in.
is what's this? That they got a contract with Shakespeare? He's dead.
No, no, no,
It's
no,
public
no.
domain material. How do they have a
Anything that's live theater. Now, in other words, if you're doing something on film, which you could say Zoom. I mean, Zoom is actually video, and it's a gray area, Zoom. So which union has jurisdiction is debatable. But for instance, if it were SAG, and they would have to apply to SAG for a contract that would allow them to use actors to work for free or
what if it
just a
okay,
percentage.
but it is that only because sometimes Shakespeare's performed on the stage, but if they took a piece of material written by a janitor that had never been on the stage and he gave you a contract giving you 1/10% for the first 5 years that it's distributed, that would be okay. They don't have to get their clearance.
Well, you have to get their clearance to do that.
Well,
You,
that's a problem. You should have a rally with the union and tell them to stop interfering. They're
uh,
interfering, they're interfering before the fact. They're saying, you guys are such criminals, or there's so many criminals out there, we can't let you do anything without our permission.
Basically, what it is protecting. Yes, they're protecting the actors. Now, if you think that's overprotection, that's a could be a legitimate argument. But basically, they're protecting their point of view is they're protecting the actors because actors
Too
can be.
stupid.
It's not stupid, desperate, I would say. Um, and then they would say, "Oh, this guy's wants to use me, and maybe I'll make a profit later on," and then there is no profit. So it's kind of guaranteeing that you can't play. I mean, the studios used to do that. That's why after a while, I mean, Marlon Brando used to ask for a percentage of the
Yes, but I
earnings.
mean, but that used to is the right word. They used to do that. This is now the age of the internet, and you could just go on the YouTube and say, low-level production, a theatrical production of Shakespeare or Eugene O'Neill or anybody.
Yeah, but the
And
fact is,
I mean, what about like you go to the church basement where you do these cold readings of new plays written by people,
right?
and so a guy can do that. Like I put a copyright thing on the front of everything I put up on YouTube. So you could do a YouTube reading of a new play written by somebody, and it was recorded as a cold reading on Zoom, and you hold the copyright for it, and so it doesn't let anybody copy it or use it, and so you'll hold on to the rights and make a contract with everybody that says, "I'll give you 1% or
Well,
I'll give 10% to the actors divided by how many people wind up in the cast."
well, that protects the writer. The copyright protects the writer. It doesn't protect
Why
the actor.
does the who has to why do they have to have their fingers in there? It sounds like they don't trust the actors. It's too much control, I think.
Uh, it depends upon the situation. I've seen places where they required the producer to go through, jump through certain hoops and adhere to this part of the contract. And where the guy the producer, the one producing it, could have been the writer producing his own work, just doesn't have that kind of money. For
Yeah.
instance, when you film a play, um, and they film it, and they film it with the possibility of making a profit. In other words, to be shown to the public. According to Actors Equity, you have to pay each actor $670 to film it, regardless of whether or not you actually use it for those purposes. So a lot of people who are doing, low level plays, They just have enough money to fund the play, and they want to film it so that they can show it to people who can't be there. And but they don't have the money to pay, and there's 10 actors in the cast. That's $6,700. Excuse me. Yeah, $6,700.
Right.
And they don't have that kind of money. But then you have the opposite thing where you have studios that are penny wise and pound foolish, and they want to use actors for nothing, and um, and they can certainly afford to pay the actors, but they want to make a larger profit than they already have. They're a corporation. I mean, I have seen major film studios balk about paying extras if they were on the set for an extra hour. I mean, they'll spend millions of dollars on advertising, but they don't want to pay the actors an amount that collectively wouldn't add up to 1% of their advertising budget.
Okay, so I got a question. Do those regulations extend beyond the continental U.S.?
No, I don't think the Screen Actors Guild. Um, I don't think it covers. Nor does actually Actors Equity when you're working in another country. But
So,
then
yeah.
unions for that country may kick in.
So let's say you go to Canada to do one of these Zoom things.
Yeah.
I think it'd be the SAG would say, well, that's okay. We don't care what you do. We don't need
Well,
no.
on the Zoom thing, if you're showing it or if it's being done or people in the United States can see it, I don't know. It depends upon where the actor is from and what under jurisdiction they are. We're talking about union actors now. We're not talking about
I
non.
know, but it sounds to me like the mafia's in on this. This is
No,
not this is not that this doesn't help actors. I don't think.
no, it
I mean,
does.
come up with a case where you see the thing is, I think if it's an established actor, he's doing a favor to a small production. If they, I understand they get a lot of money and they lose it and then they're destitute and I've read those reports and how tough it is to get started. I know, but I'm just saying it's like there's too much control.
Well, the control is there for a reason, because the larger corporations, the major studios, etc., and now studios are owned by even larger corporations, and they would be taking advantage of people. I
Yeah,
mean,
They are taking advantage of people.
yeah, yeah, they're still doing it. I mean, you remember the old days when, the studio system, when actors, somebody like Clark Gable could make a film that made, tens of millions in those days, tens of millions of dollars, and Clark Gable would be getting a salary of 500 a week or something. Um, Actors, very few actors got. I mean, some did, but the vast majority of actors working for the studio system did not get rich.
Look at what Jack was it. Look at what's his name? Who was the head of the studio that Judy Garland worked for?
Oh, well, that was Louis B. Mayer. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
he threatened to send her back to, go he threatened to throw her off the set unless she straightened up to do
right.
The Wizard of Oz.
And they had her on drugs.
Yeah, and they made her a drug addict and
Right.
then ignored her
Right.
when she was quote unquote non-productive.
Right. It
Did
was a
you
hard.
see the did you see the the documentary on Liza Minnelli?
yeah, I did.
I
On
did.
the one that you notice how the NET group is fundraising every night almost to
Yeah.
get money to stay on the air?
Yeah.
PBS does. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I know. I think it's outrageous.
And so why is the BAI more restrictive than almost every other station that is currently getting the Corporation for Public Broadcasting money?
Well,
because the
I have a
internal
theory about the whole Pacifica network. It's funded covertly so that they can't go out of business by the CIA because the having a station in five major cities allows them to aggregate the revolutionaries so they know where they are. They get so much intel on who's running what, who's with the Communist Party, who's with the I forget what they call it, the Latino Americas, take back the states, take back California.
well,
Every radical group goes on the KPFK, WBAI, not so much WPFW because that's mostly a jazz station, but Berkeley. So they act as a flame for the moth of revolutionaries, and every morning they have that Black Lives Matter, every kind of a thing that is you know, that the CIA can use as a target. So they get all this data and they listen to the shows, they get names, they know who, they know what's going on. It would be a big hit to the CIA to lose that periscope uh, into the activities of the far left. That's the service it does to the country from the viewpoint of the CIA. So I think they're funding it to some degree, somehow.
and so what's going to happen? Look at what look
But
at what
we're going to
Biden did.
liberate. Wait a second, Daryl. This is an interesting question. I want to hear specifically. Oh, you said that you would give it over to children in the schools. You think they would do a better job than any adults? Just give it to the kids in the schools. Let them
I
broadcast.
agree.
That's what you were. I think that's the plan you had, right? Take over Pacifica and go to the schools and get the kids on the air.
Yeah.
Well, to a degree, what you'd be, just to be a devil's advocate, everybody's always, there's movements to steal the childhood away from children, make them be responsible adults, get up on a stage and protest. Like, what's that girl's name from Sweden? There's, the one who goes like, "How dare you? How dare you?" Take her up and exploit her youth to push the idea of
I
global.
thought she did that on her own.
No, no, her parents were activists. They wrote the whole script and they set it all up. She didn't. And she's
Greta,
somewhere on the autism spectrum herself. But the thing is,
Greta,
she admits that. But
Greta.
Greta Thunberg, yeah. And so, what about like what we used to do? Go play stickball, ride the subway trains, play hooky from school, throw chalk at the chalkboard, go eat hot dogs, be a kid. Why don't we let kids be kids? And they could play sports. They don't have to become on like even the kids, I forget what the name of that group is that they had a confrontation with an American Indian. I can't remember the name. But they, get involved in politics at a young age. Why? There may be one or two nerdy kids who want to do that. The politics have existed since before Rome, I'm sure Greece and everything. It's not going to change. It's a battle for control. The politics is trying to declare how a society operates. You want to get on the highest position so you can control that. And but I don't see why you should have kids throw away their youth. And there's too many women throwing away their lives for careers, and then we don't have enough mothers and don't have enough kids being born and who grow up in the normal case. So we have to have a movement to get women back in the kitchen, pregnant, right, cooking dinner. But I'm just saying, it's like why indoctrinate the youth? That's what Hitler was doing. He put the kids in uniforms and had them march. And he said Hitler was famous for saying, "Give me the youth, and in 20 years I'll have the country." And that's what he did. He started the Hitler Youth, like probably 32 or 33. I was in the Boy Scouts, but I was in the U.S. does it with ROTC. It gets kids at the high school level, and they usually wind up in the army. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing or a good thing, but I'm saying it's not necessary to force kids into political activity or religious activity. Get them to kneel before Christ or kneel before Allah and, get extremely devout and get cognizant to the concept that they were born as sinners and they're condemned to go to hell, and they got to seek redemption, even though they don't know what they did wrong. So I don't agree with that. I think they should have the opportunity to experience the different aspects of life, like hiking, horseback riding, building a boat, flying, going on a boat, planting food, dancing, singing, reading books, reading famous books or stupid books, drawing. I think that's the kind of things that's good for kids to do. And excuse me, I left out contributing to maintenance of the house with taking out the garbage and watering the plants or feeding the chickens, whatever is appropriate to where you're living. But rather than go on rallies, for people dying in a third country where they're going to die anyhow. So I'd leave that up to the elders to suffer there and waste their time doing that. I don't know why they drag the kids along, but they're cheerful about it. I know that. So what do you think? Wasn't that kind of a tirade that I just did there? That was outrageous statements saying you shouldn't burden children with political responsibility. Mike, aren't you going to beat me up?
I would say I would disagree with you. It wasn't a kind of a tirade. It was a tirade.
Oh,
I mean,
thank you. Thank you. Feel accomplished. I got
Um,
through it without any hums, haws, or your nose.
yeah,
Oh, I wonder if people are really trying to say your nose instead of your nose.
uh, that's a bizarre question in itself.
Okay, so that
I
was a tirade. Do you agree with it? Or is there a
uh,
point? Does it have some value?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, right now there's a society pulling itself apart on so many issues. I I mean, I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah, like the Civil War and then the peace movement and the Vietnam War, and there's lots of times they've done that. It's the
No,
global.
but I mean now it's pulling apart in a different way. Now it is, and there's something. We have a device. We have devices that help it along. I mean, I really don't know how we're going to get out of this mess
Oh, well,
because
okay, okay. I have a little bit of religiosity. Don't worry, all will be well. But how old were you when you did your first political involvement?
who me?
Yeah.
Oh, I think I was involved in. Let me see. I think I was in the crib. No, political involvement. First of all, I don't really I never like to go to marches. I don't like chanting. I mean, it just is like saying, okay, I'll sing your song because it may be a means to an end. But I don't know. I've been to marches, I've been to rallies, I've been to demonstrations. I mean, especially but I mean when they want to chart all chant the same thing, I'm going, no, I'm not. I don't want to. I want to say what's natural to me. I mean, I there was a I was at a Black Lives Matter protest, and there was a woman there who wanted us to chant this thing, and I'm going, no, we should be saying, racism is one of the worst things on the planet. Why it should be eliminated. Slogans, I don't know. I don't know.
You mean concentrating on the oppression of black people is to disservice the concept of the difficulty of general racism, which is
No,
all.
no, 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 no. I'm just talking about the slogans. Some of the slogans I'm going, I just, maybe as a writer as well, I just said, that slogan isn't as hard hitting as I would have used. But the people controlling the rally, they have this idea. I just think that marching is good because it shows, first of all, it shows how many people, well, a sample. of how many people are opposed to this. At least it's saying every person on there is letting the world know they're opposed to this. So if you get 50,000 people on a march, that's something people, even the people in power, if they have any brains, would have to take notice of. Because if it's 50,000 people marching, how many more people just agree with them but couldn't make the march or were ill or something like that?
Uh-huh.
May I interject something here?
Yeah,
If the government is actually representing the people, anything that they want the people to do. So, for instance, there are states in which you have to have you have to show a birth certificate supposedly in order to
vote.
register to vote or to vote, right? They
Right,
have the document. If what's required is a passport, then mail the person the passport
right,
and so that they can vote. Um,
right.
if I don't even think a driver's license is enough for some people. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The government, meaning I've given my sovereignty over to a group of people to represent me in a situation which is supposed to benefit me. Well, if it's not benefiting me, then then what am I supposed to do? If I take my sovereignty back, then do I get deported? And where am I getting deported to? If I
Well,
was born in Manhattan in the Bronx, I mean, in
you
Manhattan, New York City. I mean, now they set a precedent that they could send you to, it's, they can send you to El Salvador to prison, even if you're a
know,
citizen.
Daryl, if you're a citizen, if you're a
Yes,
citizen of the United States,
yes,
legally they cannot
yes.
deport you. But
That's not true.
no, wait. We live we now live in an illegally run country.
But they did it uh when they did that when they ended the Bracero program and they threw all the people out. Some of those people were American citizens.
Right. And theoretically, you have to show, I mean, in other words, you can jail them for committing a crime, but how do you can't deport, I mean, legally.
But they've done it
Constitutionally,
already.
of
There's
course,
precedent for it.
of course, they're doing, the United States government has been doing illegal stuff since,
But we are the government, Mike.
oh, we
We
are
need
not.
to stop it.
No, we are not the government. We think we are. We should be, but we are not now.
Well, that's what the Constitution says.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, wait a minute. The root of this situation is the question I asked Mike, which he didn't answer. I want to see if you can answer it, Daryl. What was the first time in your life when you became politically involved?
I did answer.
Probably about 7 years old when I went to the first March on Washington for quote unquote civil rights in about 1957.
So you went on your own or with your parents?
Parents,
Okay, so did you go because your parents took you or because you were interested or both?
I guess it's because I don't remember. I guess because my parents took me.
Wait a second. Hold it. Ken, how
Yeah.
can you ask him that question? He
Well,
was, Daryl was
I used
7 years
English.
old.
I asked him the question in English.
No. The he's 7 years old. A 7 year old doesn't say, "Hey, mom, dad, I'm going to go to the rally. I'll see you in a couple of days." All right, and the parents say, "Have a good time, kid." No, that's not
Greta Thunberg does that. But anyhow,
not
so when
back
was the
then.
first time, Daryl, that you knowingly, on your own volition, involved in a political activity?
By myself.
Yeah, well, on your initiative, you
About
can on with other
13
people.
probably.
Yeah.
Eh,
I
That's
was in high school.
high school. And what'd you do?
You're
well, you
asking a lot here, Ken. I'm
Well, what was it
high on
about?
Gary No products. I'm trying to stay awake, and I don't want to do it. Let me answer the question. Let me see. What was it? It was a civil rights march. I don't know, asking for something that no one was gonna give me.
right,
Okay.
right, and
I
that's
apologize that I don't remember, but I can remember when I was doing work in South Africa, and I got arrested in front of both Chase Manhattan Bank on 42nd Street and where else? I don't I don't know.
you know,
Arthur Schwartz would know because he was supposed to be representing us.
something, Daryl. It's very funny because
What?
I'm kind of lucky. I could never get arrested during the rallies that counted. When we were rallying against the anti-apartheid rallies, somehow they they didn't arrest us. We were trespassing. We were like near the South African mission or whatever, something like that. We didn't get arrested. But when I was at a rally to protest the tearing down of two Broadway theaters, then I got arrested. And I said, wait a second, which was more
Did,
important?
did they tear them down?
Yeah, they tore them down anyway.
Holy crap.
Oh, they didn't care. Money, when it comes to money and power, they don't listen to anybody. Um, and it's I mean, look what's going on now. You think Trump actually, if there was a demonstration of all MAGA people, they were all maggots demonstrating against one of Trump's policy. Do you think he would listen to them?
He'd have them shot.
Well, sooner or later, his advisors would say to him, "Look, you're going to be totally on your own, literally. No
Doesn't
one's
matter.
going
He doesn't care because if he's got
no, no,
if he's got Musk money, uh, uh, did you buy
no,
your Trump AR-15 yet?
no. But I was telling Ken before, Trump is doing commercials on Fox, hawking Trump watches. He is doing the
Oh,
commercial,
he's got an AR-15.
of course. But the funny thing is, one thing that people who knew Trump told me: if Trump is on his own, he can't defend himself. He needs other people to do his fighting for him. So when you finally get him to the point where even the people around him, the people who are supposed to defend him physically and or fight for him both physically and verbally, and they're going to walk out on him, that's where you got something where he really gets scared. He's scared all the time, but I mean where he'll cave in. However, the problem is a lot of the people around him are just as bad, if not worse than him.
Worse.
Well, some of them for sure. So,
Well,
I
he's
mean,
only in it for the money.
right. Trump
The
Trump
the
is not
thinker
an
fans
American.
who are using him really
Yeah,
believe this crap.
right. They don't believe, yeah. But Trump is not an American firster. He's America's seconder. He's a Trump firster. Trump believes in Trump first, America second, and the rest of the world can go fuck themselves. That's his philosophy. So that's what
What I'm trying to understand is, do we get to deport um,
Donald Trump.
Elon Musk because he's South African? Do
Yeah,
we get to deport the First Lady because she's Slovenian?
yeah.
Where's the policy?
Well, they've been given citizenship, but like you said, Citizens are being deported all the time, regardless of whether it's constitutional. And but no, it's called hypocrisy. This United States is the bastion of hypocrisy.
The
And
bastion, the bastion. Come on.
the bastion of hypocrisy,
Yeah,
not
really. Okay.
democracy.
Who taught Hitler what he knew?
I guess if you could say that, it's true. That
Uh,
statement is hypocritical. That's fine.
right. So I mean, we are, but the idea is when you get to a situation where the government, the people at the top, are going to do whatever they want to do, regardless of what the people underneath them feel or say, then you do not have a republic or a democracy for that matter. You have a fascist or autocracy.
Okay. So what are we gonna do?
That's a good question. Short of a revolution? I don't know.
What do you mean short of a revolution? They just had a revolution and they
That's true.
won.
Yeah, I have to tell you
So
the truth.
are
I
we
don't
gonna
have,
sit around and complain, or are we gonna buy him out?
that's why you want to buy Pacifica.
That's correct. I want. Look at what the Democrat Joe Biden did to Ashatella, the African People's
Yeah,
Party. Now, this isn't Trump. This is your Democrat. So we need to decapitate the leadership of the Democratic Party and make it a true, since everybody's already in the Democratic Party.
I wish it was everybody.
Well, who isn't in the Democratic Party?
Republicans.
Most of them would be Democrats now.
No, no. As Ken can probably tell you, you've got the moderate Republicans are now the minority in the Republican Party.
There are no moderate Republicans, according to some people.
Well, the idea is the term moderate is a relative term, right? So
Right,
what was considered a moderate Republican, like a Nelson Rockefeller, or
right.
actually,
That that would be that he would probably be considered a Democrat today.
well, yeah, but he still would be a member of the party. Although a
They
couple of
threw all of them out.
well, a couple of them left on their own, but yeah. So the Republican Party is now becoming the party of the far right. And to be quite honest with
I
you,
would suggest
And let
that
me throw this in there. Let's get practical. What do you think about transgender women competing in women's sports?
I just heard a new report that um it's perfectly fine because in the context that if you go by testosterone levels, um, in order to become transgender, and you have to take uh, estrogen, and the estrogen levels uh, make the musculature compatible to a very strong testosterone woman. So it's perfectly fine according to the latest science that's out.
Well, but you're ignoring practical experimentations of that transgender women win state champions by like 10% faster or further or longer or stronger, no matter what, no matter how much estrogen they get, because they spent their whole lives as men, and at least up to 22 or something, and building a bone structure and a physique, and that doesn't go away just because they take estrogen. That's horseshit. But I mean, it isn't a question of
Okay.
theoretically,
The,
it's a question of
all right.
evidence.
So
The
you're
evidence
gonna say
shows,
that the
the evidence
scientists
shows, let
go
me just
ahead.
finish the sentence. The
You're
evidence shows,
you're against it.
let me show you. The evidence shows that men who pretend to be women and take testosterone compete with women, and they still have uh, male genitalia. They go to the women's locker rooms, they get dressed, they take showers, they compete against the women, and they win. And these guys came back from, they had initially, and when they were competing with men before they tried to transfer, they were like ranked 500th or 400th in their field. Now they're winning the competition in gymnastics, in weightlifting, in swimming, in races, and so forth. Because men have a different physical structure than women. That's why Title IX was written, to protect women and allow them to get involved in sports. They're just throwing that out in the river for some stupid reason for a tenth of a percent of men that want to be women. It's ridiculous. It's like all of us shall suffer, or all the women, 50% of the population that wants to, or the part of the population that wants to be athletic, the women that want to be athletic have to suffer the consequences of competing with a man. And they do this in wrestling. And some woman just recently, last week, took a knee because she refused to do a fencing competition against the man who was pretending to be a woman. And I think pretending to be a woman is actually what it is. It's not something else. They're not converting, they're pretending to be a woman. And so there's these guys, I don't give a shit what their ego is. I don't care if they suffer. They can go to a psychiatrist and figure out why they can't live with being a man. I live with being my height. I'm not 6'4". I have to live with that. No, I could go, it's not fair. I should walk around on stilts. So, because I want to be as tall as the tallest guy, you know, or my nose is too big. I should go get a nose job. So, do what you want, but you can't force people to accept me. So, and there's a distinction. It's okay for women to say, we want to compete with each other and not compete with men. And if they could have another thing where there's men and women competing, like you can have co-ed tennis or something like that, fine. And then, there'll be a man and a woman against a man and a woman. But you don't have to go crazy and say that there is no distinction between men and women. That's insane. Even though there are people who are definitely intersexual or have female, or born with two sets of genitalia, but those are very, 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 very rare. And you don't have to adjust the whole society. They certainly don't do it for people who want to smoke cigars. That's a small part of the civilization that want to smoke cigars. And they say, no, you can't smoke a cigar in the bus. You can't smoke a cigar in this building. You can't even smoke a cigar anywhere near this building or a cigarette. So, they're punished and they're excluded, even though they want to smoke cigars. And you could say, well, cigars hurt people. Yeah, well, men competing against women hurts women. Oh, so that was another rant. I'm sorry I interrupted. I was really wanted to get an answer from you. And I did that. I apologize. I jumped all over when you said it's okay because they're taking estrogen. So I apologize for that. I shouldn't just jump in there with all my anger, my upset, my my compressed rant. Okay, so I'm a fin thing. Mike, what's your position on that?
Which one? You brought up 15 different subjects. You're talking about when you want me to address the transgender sports issue? Ken, you're muted.
Yeah, I know I muted myself so that I don't interrupt people. Yes, that's correct. The transgender sports issue. And by the way, I haven't heard of a case of a woman converting to a man and wrestling with men. So, but it's always a man converting to a woman and competing with women.
Actually, somebody came up with an idea and they said instead of being man or woman, it should be the strength. In other words, the strength of muscle test, whatever muscles or raw strength that you would like you do in boxing. It's a weight class. In other words, you're a middleweight, light heavyweight, heavyweight. The same thing should be across the board in sports. So if somebody is of a higher strength or weight class or bone structure, whether they're man or a woman, they have to play in a certain class. So whatever muscles are necessary for that particular sport, for instance, fencing, it would certainly be different than it would be for football. So American football. So
More or
the
less,
idea,
we should yield and let the men who become women go into the women's locker rooms and compete with the women as long as they've made themselves somehow physically comparable to the average woman, not the best woman, the average woman. Because if they just qualify as being a little less strong than the strongest woman, that's not equitable. That's not the same. They would have to degrade themselves down to the average strength of the average woman, at least the
no,
average woman.
judging that, but if you're judging by strength, by actually muscle power, then whatever class they're in would compete against other people in that class.
Well, there's more to sports than strength. There's agility and uh, speed of speed of reflection
You
uh,
can include all of those.
of all of those things. So, in other words, if a man can show that he has that does not exceed the average woman's physical athletic abilities, then he could compete with them.
Not necessarily abilities, but capabilities.
Capability.
Yeah. So if you have the same capability as a woman, then you can participate with in that sport.
Okay. And what about you, Mike? Daryl, you agree with Mike? Come on, Daryl, you can sit up. I think Daryl's falling asleep.
I think he might have stepped out for a second. Daryl?
Now there he is.
Oh, okay.
Unmute.
Daryl? Oh,
I suggest that you use the UN standard where even a South African woman was had a hard time competing in sports because of her testosterone level, and she was born a woman. I'm
oh.
trying to remember her name. Could someone look it up on the internet?
How would we look it up? South
You look
African.
up Olympic challenges South African female in to compete in sport.
Because she was had too much testosterone.
She was winning all these races, and they were challenging as to whether she was a woman or not.
Well,
This
what
is before this is before the transgender issue. And what I want to know is, what if what is the I? Intersectional, intersexual, an intersexual person. In other words, you were born at birth, the doctor chose what sex you were going to be, as compared to the individual choosing. At birth, the doctor has to make a choice because the body has both sets of organs. Are you familiar with that?
sure.
Okay, so where does that person compete?
I'm
Where
not
the
concerned
doctor
about
says,
everything. Well, I think it's a mistake to make conventions or principles or procedures based on the exceptional cases that are on the fringe.
I'm not asking that. I'm asking you a
There are
question.
people that have 6 fingers on each hand, and you
Yes,
could say like, well, we got to make gloves that fits them because, and we have to allow that, and we can't have anybody, we got to have, or
I'm not saying that's not what I'm asking, Ken.
yeah, I'm saying that you can sacrifice, you can have an injustice for a person who's an exception. You don't have to bend the rules to handle every minimal.
I'm saying where do they compete?
Oh, I don't. They can compete by themselves. They can play golf, a non-contact sport. That's
So what's the
totally based on
what's the
skill.
contact sport that trans transgender people compete in?
Oh, banging your head against the wall.
Oh, come on, man.
Well, fuck them. Who cares whether they can compete or not? It doesn't matter.
You wouldn't fuck them because it would
No, I
be
wouldn't
against.
fuck them because they're
First
men.
of all, your wife would probably
I don't want to.
be upset with you if you fucked a transgender
That's right.
person.
I think I would be more upset than my wife
Why?
because I'm not into homosexual activity
Why would it be homosexual?
because it's a man pretending to be a woman.
It's not anybody pretending. So you're saying that
A
that's
man
like the
pretending to
old
be a woman is
that's
a
like
man
that's like
pretending to
the
be a
old
woman.
homosexual. You mean you choose to be a homosexual? Yeah, I choose to be someone who is shot at, beaten up, thrown in jail. Yeah, that's exactly what I chose to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that. I'm glad you realized it. But the question is, if I
You're a
have a
wonderful
choice,
human
I have
being,
a
Ken.
choice. Listen, I have a choice.
Your wife loves you, Ken.
I have a choice. The people who are competing in women's sports have a choice and they have a right to just compete with women. They have
Fine,
that right.
fine.
Well, then it shouldn't be
I'm not
abused.
debating that.
Yes, you are. You're saying a woman, they can be forced to compete with a man.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
No, I'm not for forcing anybody to do anything that they don't want to do.
Oh, you say they can quit. They can't compete with women because you won't allow them unless they agree to compete with men.
They're not competing with men.
Okay. Well, why don't you go down? You're in New York. Go down and date a transsexual woman and see what you think. See if it's a man or a woman. Somebody, a guy wearing a dress who's got a beard. Go check it out. See what it's like. See if you could call it a woman.
You know,
You can
Ken,
do
you
that. It's easy to do in Manhattan.
Ken, you're weird, man.
I'm
Oh,
weird.
shucks, I just stepped on the glass anyway. Damn it.
I'm not weird. I'm just honest. That's all.
Oh, oh, yeah.
I'm being honest. That's all.
Honest,
Like,
yeah.
how do you feel about a guy who comes on an airplane and weighs 500 pounds and has to take all three seats and he pays the same fare? Is that adequate? Is that fair? Of
Doesn't bother me. Does it bother you?
It's not fair. Of
well,
course, it's bothersome. That's
What do
right.
you mean it's not fair?
Everybody else is paying $300 for the ticket. He's paying $300 for three seats.
yeah, but how does that affect you, Ken?
Oh, it raises
Really?
the price of the tickets.
Well,
And it
it's
also
still
puts
not
the plane at
affecting
risk.
you.
The plane could tip over because of his weight.
It affects the airline,
Yeah,
but it doesn't
Who's
affect you.
who? That means that the subsidy that you're paying
yeah. Well,
is
I know
is
you probably
bothering you.
have you ever flown on an airplane that you paid for the ticket? Or I forget, if, separate from the military. Have you taken a plane somewhere?
Not recently. Pretty soon I won't be able to take it
Yeah.
because I won't have identification to get on it. Right now I can't take because I don't have any identification.
Okay, great. So there's a large group of people in your, maybe somebody can help you get identification if you're not able to get it yourself.
Well,
I don't know. I don't. If it is, I wish they would do it because
What are you
I'm
want them to come knock
unable
on?
to. I'm unable to
You're not able
get
to.
into my credit card in my bank
Yeah.
because they think that I'm committing fraud.
Uh-huh. Okay. Well, you should write a book about this or call up a newspaper. This,
No, I should write a book about my last year. My mother died. My
yeah.
intended died.
Uh-huh.
One of my best friends, I just found out my best friend's wife just died, Ida Edwards, and she was in a nursing home.
How old are each of these three people?
Mom was 103, Rose was 80. I think she was 80, maybe 81. I'm 76. Ida is 91, was 91. Oh, I wish I could hear that. I still have to hear it at
Well,
12.
the fact is, after the age of 75, even there's a higher incidence of death.
Yep. And actually it's down below because they lost it's 74, maybe even 73 because of the quote unquote pandemic.
I think it's more because of the um, shit. I forgot what it's called now. The thing in the water to save your cavities. I forget what it's called.
Oh, fluoride.
All right, I think that's what's killing everybody. Anyhow,
UNRK Jr.
so those are things that are unfortunate. This, complaints about life. It ends. It does end.
Actually,
Even
Ken,
I, as honest and free speaking as I am, will someday die. So will everybody. But it's not really dying. You just go on to step two.
no,
Second,
your body dies.
your body dies.
You don't die
That's
because
right.
you're a spirit.
Excellent. Absolutely correct. And
Yeah,
so
but
nothing to
I'd like
fear.
to know
No,
where the
not to,
evidence
no
for
need
that
to
is.
have remorse. No remorse required for the people who passed away. They
You know, you're
passed
just
their
going
point.
to another,
You're going-
depending on your spiritual practice, you're more than likely just going to another body.
That's right. So it's not.
Wait a second,
There's no
hold it.
need for
Do
remorse.
we get a choice?
Uh,
Yes,
yes, generally speaking, you have a choice.
yes, you do.
All right, because if I'm going to go into another body,
Yeah.
I don't want it to be somebody who looks worse than I do.
Okay. Well, you even have
I've
the.
never seen you, Ken, so how would I know? I mean,
Right.
Mike, I've never seen you, so I don't know.
Oh, I
Yeah,
put.
but I've seen me. Believe me, you're not missing anything.
Well, how about what did you ever consider the concept of becoming an eagle or a porpoise or a squirrel?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Might
Yeah, I could come. No,
Bibi Netanyahu's in town. Gee whiz,
you
genocide
didn't know
on
that.
fire.
You didn't know that he was in Washington for the past few days, or down in Mar-a-Lago or something.
Are they going to have another joint conference?
Yep, they already did.
They did?
BB and Donnie.
Oh no, just saw them on Amanpour.
Yeah, they're
So so there's no problem meeting a genocide. See, everybody wants a job. These guys are committing genocide
a minute,
just
not
to keep their
everybody.
job.
You're not looking for
Merrill,
work, are you?
Merrill. I still have to say it's not genocide by the
It
definition
is
of the word.
genocide, Mike.
No, it's only
It
it's
fits
only
the
genocide in your opinion, but it's not
no, it
genocide.
isn't. In the
It's not
opinion of
genocide. Okay,
the
wait,
United
hold on.
Nations.
Let
That's
us
where the
let
definition for
no,
genocide
what
came
is
from.
what is the definition of genocide in the United Nations?
It's when you kill Jews.
No, never. We haven't brought it up. What is the United Nations definition of genocide?
The intentional slaughter and other actions to eliminate the presence or history of a specific race or culture.
Okay, the intentional. Now, how do you decide when it's intentional? So that's an uphill battle. But it
No,
has
it
to be
isn't.
intentional.
It's quite clear.
No, no.
When you shoot children in the back of the head or in the front of the head,
Yeah,
that's an intentional act.
that's right. And are they shooting every Palestinian in the back of the head?
Everyone they can find.
No, they're not. Some of them they're shooting as soon as they walk into the area, they're shooting them. But that is not genocide. Genocide has to be when your purpose is to wipe out the entire population.
Well, how much
However,
more
wait,
purposeful?
let me finish. However, I have to say this for my own saying. I don't know what Netanyahu is doing now
He wants
because,
to stay out of jail right now. And
well,
the way that
you
he
know,
stays out of jail is perpetual war.
well,
Even not even Jewish people in Israel are calling for his removal.
yeah,
And because he keeps going and getting, excuse me, coalitions that keep him in power, he's
yeah,
able to stay in power. Now, if you can look at Gaza,
he's got a
and once
minority government.
again, if people are shooting children in the head, I don't know what more you want for genocide. You want them to
Because,
open up the ovens again? He'll do it.
well, the idea is when you're trying to wipe out the population, that is your purpose to wipe out the entire
Look at
population
what look
of
at
a
just
of a certain racial, cultural, religious.
no such thing as race. That's not scientific. I don't know why everybody keeps talking about it,
Well,
including
that's well, the United Nations talks about it. We're talking about the definitions. However, if you shoot a child in the back of the head, it is murder.
and it also prevents that child from replicating.
I don't think that's why they're shooting him. I think they're shooting
Why are
him
they shooting them?
because the child they see the child as a potential threat.
And also a potential quote unquote breeder, as they say.
I don't know. I don't think that's why they're shooting him. But
Oh,
the fact of the
so okay,
matter
so
is
you hear a settler say that to somebody in the West Bank before they shoot them.
that
You
is
have
that is
the minister of defense say that that's what they're doing, but that's not genocide. That's not enough for you.
wait. When did the Israeli Minister of Defense say that?
Bring it up on YouTube.
Well, you bring it up because I've never seen him say that. That we are trying to to prevent the continuation of the Palestinian people.
Don't believe me, Mike.
I'm
Bring it
not.
up
I'm
on
not saying that.
YouTube.
I have not seen it, and actually, the last time
Well,
we
I'm
had this
asking you
discussion,
to look at. Oh, why
the
am I
last time
screaming?
we
I
had
got
this
the job.
discussion, Daryl, I did try to find it, and I couldn't. So now I tried to find it. Somebody else is going to have to find it and show it to me because I couldn't find it.
Ken,
No, I'm looking something else up. I got to finish.
Well, try looking that up.
terrorist organization from operating in the area while ensuring the security of the
No, no,
I
that's
don't
not.
read fast enough.
No. That's what they're doing now. Is they've expanded the buffer zone and they're shooting people on site who come
They
into the
won't
buffer zone.
let food and water in to feed children. What the hell is that?
And that's are they doing that to wipe out the population, or are they doing that to get them to surrender during the war, to defeat them in the war,
Are the
to get them
children
to?
dying because they don't get water and food?
Well, let me tell you
Oh
something,
wow,
Daryl.
Sidney
We
Poitier.
the Allies firebombed cities in Germany, in Nazi Germany.
Exactly the point.
That is not genocide.
It
Is
is
it a? No,
genocide.
it isn't. It's a war crime. Excuse me. If it is a war crime, that's how you don't get the words mixed up. I mean, I'm sitting here. I'm talking to people on both sides of the coin. I'm trying to say, look, if we don't have an acceptance of a common language, we don't have a society. You've got to have at least one language that's common to the society. and you have to agree on definitions. You can't just say, otherwise I could say, you know something,
I'm
so and
telling.
so,
All right.
so and so tried to talk to me, was started an argument with me. They were committing genocide. Don't diminish the words. Say what it
I'm
is.
not diminishing the words. I'm using the United Nations definition for
Well,
genocide.
then
And what Israel is doing is
somebody get up
genocide.
right now, the United Nations, and get up right now because I've got to get off in about 7 minutes. Ken, look
I'm
up the
looking
United
up the UN
Nations
definition.
definition of genocide.
Yeah, I'm looking up. You got the World Health Organization, which is part of the UN, isn't it?
No. That's not the definition of genocide. Look up the United Nations definition of genocide.
Oh, that's suicide. I'm sorry.
No,
Genocide. It says here, an attempt by Germans to kill Jews. No, let's see. Definition
no.
of genocide.
That's a specific genocide. Go on.
Okay. It's, they sometimes they're politically correct. Let's see. This is from the UN. I'm looking here and see if there's a definition. Definitions of genocide and related crimes. They got a background. We don't want to see the background. We want to see the conclusion. Definition. Article 1, killing members of the group, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or part, and imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group, forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. Those are all considered genocide. That's the new definition from the UN, who's got the sustainable goals and everything, and they come up with these ridiculous.
Wait. But Darrell was only quoting the UN definition. He wasn't
That's what
quoting
I just read to
the
you. Oh, let me share it. 1 second. I could share this. As soon as I go here. And
He can't see it. He's not on the internet.
No, he can see it on the phone.
I'll be able to see it when he posts it.
You will?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Are you on? Can you see it?
Yep.
Okay, hold it. You're at Article 2. Where's Article 1?
By that definition, the Russians are committing genocides against the Ukrainians
I don't
because
see.
they've stolen a whole bunch of children.
Starts with a background. First
Okay.
coined by a Polish guy in 1944 in the book Axel Rule in occupied Europe. And later on, blah, blah, blah. Genocide was first recognized as a crime under international law in 1946 by the UN General Assembly. It was codified as an independent crime later in 48. It's got a history, the definition. So
Okay.
the definition
of
crime of genocide is contained in Article 2 of the Genocide Convention.
All right. So it says in the present convention, which is what we're talking about, discussing, genocide means any of the following acts committed with intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnical, racial, religious group. As such, killing members of the group. Oh, okay. So in other words,
it says in whole or in part. So
wait, yeah. Well, no. The key term here that I see it is genocide means any of the following acts committed with intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group.
There you go. Intent to destroy. With intent to destroy. So actually, though, Netanyahu said he wants to destroy Hamas. So that's intent to destroy in whole or in part. They want to get
no. Hamas is not a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group. Gazans, or Palestinians at least, could be considered, are a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group.
Who's the government of Gaza?
It's not the government. If you seek to destroy the Israeli government,
where he
you are not committing genocide.
In the heat of the night.
What?
This is where he slaps. Oh, the heat of the night. Oh man, what
You're
a
watching the
shot!
heat of the night? I didn't even know that was on. Yeah. Oh, by the
No,
way,
it isn't. They showed us a clip. Do you get Channel 21? Are you in New York?
yep. You're talking about PBS?
12 o'clock. Yeah, look at Amin 4,
Oh, okay. I mean, I know the
and you
movie.
see.
I've seen the movie a dozen times. And by the way,
Yeah, the part
that
where Tibbs slaps.
yeah, Larry Gates. And you know something? Not he slaps the character that
Okay,
Larry Gates
let me
playing.
push. Let me interrupt to push forward here, lower in the paragraph. The popular understanding of what constitutes genocide tends to be broader than the content of the norm under international law. Article 2 of the Genocide Convention, this is almost like they got it straight from Michael, contains a narrow definition of the crime of genocide, which includes two main elements: a mental element, the intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethical, racial, or religious group as such, and two, a physical element, which includes the following five acts enumerated exhaustively: killing members of the group, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or part, imposing measures intended to prevent births from within the group, forcibly transferring children of the group to another group, like the Indians being they're like the
Right.
Irish or
Well,
American.
First
But they're
Nations.
going right with your point that it's got to have element one: intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethical, and not ethical, ethnical,
Right.
EHNICAL, ethnical. They made up a new word.
Right.
An ethical, an ethnical group, racial or religious group, as such. So they don't care if they take a bunch of Mormons and convert them to Christians. That's genocide.
That's
Because
cultural genocide. Yeah. Yeah.
cultural genocide. They
What
don't
was
take
done?
all.
What was done to First Nations people was genocide.
Yeah.
That was genocide in this country. So this country committed genocide. Well, I don't want to say before anybody else, but it's one of the earlier committed it
And the
earlier.
Indian tribes committed genocide amongst themselves.
Perhaps,
They
yeah.
eliminated
But look,
one tribe, eliminated the other tribe, and took the women.
right now, look, I'm going to have to get off actually now, but I wanted to say to Daryl one thing in the heat of the night. I'm wondering if he knew that the studios were worried about Sidney Poitier's character smacking, Larry Gates back. Sidney Poitier stood his ground and said, and the other actors agree with him. He said, no, this is this has got to happen, and it wound up so you can actually give Sidney Poitier credit for that scene, which is probably the most effective scene as far as the effect on the audience that ever was. I mean, I thought it was a no-brainer. The guy Sidney Poitier was playing a detective, right? I mean, to a little, I was a kid when I saw it, and the guy smacks a detective because the detective happens to be black. I mean, man, he's lucky Sidney Poitier didn't beat the shit out of him. But it was a great scene. But anyway, I gotta go, guys, because I've got to make this store before they close in 15.
Goodbye. Don't buy too many cigarettes. Limited to
Right.
one pack a day.
Did want to ask Daryl, how are you feeling? Daryl?
Tip
You
top.
really don't want
Tip
you
top.
really don't want to know.
He's in great shape.
Um, don't they deliver, Mike?
What? No, it's not a food store. I've got to get to the CVS pharmacy before it closes.
They don't deliver?
No, no, and it's 4 blocks away anyway, so they probably no, they
Yeah,
don't
get out and have a
deliver the
nice
next
walk.
day.
If
They
Limited
you
don't.
had Instacart, you wouldn't have to do that. I
I don't
suggest you
have
get Instacart. Go to the store and get the drugs that aren't going to cure you.
right. That's going to make me worse. But in the
I don't
meantime,
know.
I want you
You're
to do.
doing it. I would suggest that you seek out something that's going to cure. Man, call me when you get back.
Well, okay. I'll call you when I get back, which
And then I'll share it because I don't want you to miss.
missed the
I don't
store.
want. I don't want you to miss the store. I want you to
Okay.
get the drugs you
Well, let
think
him
you
go,
need.
Darrell. Darrell, let him go. Let him
Yeah,
go.
yeah, yeah,
Stop
yeah. I'm
talking.
going. All right. I just got to see how to get off here. I always have a
Hit
problem.
exit. Exit.
Touch it. Touch the screen up near your name, and then push leave.
Okay, hold
You
it.
could be walking and doing this, you know.
Hey, hey. Yeah, I got to get out of the building. Daryl, your number's
Call
not in
me
my
when you
phone.
get back.
Your number's not in my phone.
347.
1 second. 347. Yeah.
382
Yeah.
0854.
Okay.
Should
Uh,
do a Gary No retreat. $2,500, 5,000 for 2 weeks.
It's 2,000 for 1 week.
2,500.
That's cheap.
Damn cheap.
It costs that
okay.
much in a retirement community.
Let me see how I do this. Okay, guys. I'll see you later.
Prosper. Ken.
Oh, so I'm looking up this UN definition. They
I
they
don't care. He's gone. They're doing genocide.
well
Anybody who denies you water, food,
well that's your standard.
housing,
That's
well,
your
what's their standard?
This is the UN standard.
Right. What does it say? The first thing that it says.
No, you got to listen to their evaluation of what they said.
All right.
It says the intent is the most difficult element to determine. To constitute genocide, there must be a proven intent on the part of the perpetrators to physically destroy a national group, ethnic group, or racial or religious group. Cultural destruction does not suffice, nor does an intention to simply disperse carry. It is this special intent that makes the crime of genocide so unique. In addition, case law has associated intent with the existence of a state or organizational plan or policy, even if the definition of a genocide in international law does not include that element. So they're saying that for it to be genocide, it's got to come from a state or organized group. Can't come from like an individual. That would be mass murder. The victims of genocide are deliberately targeted, not randomly, because of their real or perceived membership of one of the four groups protected under the convention, which excludes political groups, for example. This means that the target of the destruction must be the group as such and not its members as individuals. Genocide can be committed against only a part of the group as long as its part is identifiable, including within the geography limited areas and substantial. So that would be like killing the Kurds. They're like a subordinate group of Muslims living in a certain area. And you want to get rid of all of the
They're
Kurds.
living on their land that is claimed by 4 different countries or 3 different countries: Turkey, Syria,
Yeah, so
Iraq.
maybe they're trespassing, maybe they're not. You know, they say it's their land. I don't give a shit. So whatever.
That's where they were born.
So what? You know, the UN can these elitists, academics come up with all kind of standards. You know, that's calling somebody by the wrong pronoun is an act of genocide. It's cruelty. It's mental duress. You know, they
Why
just
does that bother you so much?
what
Why
in,
are you obsessed with that?
why doesn't it bother you? That's the question. How come you're not sensitive to it?
I'm sensitive to it. I
So
want to respect every human being on the planet
okay.
and
That
their
includes, wait a
sovereignty.
minute. Does that include Donald Trump and JD Vance?
Yes, Yes,
you respect them.
I love Donald Trump defining love as agape,
Uh,
meaning love without expectations. He's a very sick man. His father abused him, and
yeah.
he's been trying to live up to his father's standards ever since.
You know what's
Why else would he act the way he acts?
now? How did you do? Have you ever used those standards for self-evaluation?
Yes.
And how do they work? They work for that?
What do you mean? How does it work?
Is it enlightening? Has it led you to a new revelation and
It's
improvement?
led me to wanting to buy Pacifica, pay off all its debts, and then return it to its rightful owners, the listeners, and then get as many people to listen to the content so that they can be all that they can be. What is it? The army?
Well, I
Right?
find fault.
Be all that you can be.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Be all you can be. A body in a box coming home.
That you used to be able to see in Vietnam, but you can't see now because why? Because the entity that we elect to
I know.
represent us
Hold on a minute.
has a
I
policy.
believe that you can't really define things or evaluate things standing alone. You can't talk about an apple standing by itself, or an automobile, or a country, or a house. You have to compare it to comparable things. Okay?
Okay,
So the United States of America, compare it to
yeah.
other countries.
Compare it to what? You
Any
can't
other,
compare it to anything because it's an entity.
China has more people. India has more people. Uh, China has a GDP coming close to American, and they have a longer history than we do. We're only like 200, 300 years old, or 400 years old. They're thousands of years old. So you can compare the United States to China. You can even compare it to Canada, or maybe Mexico. You know, the United States of America was invaded by Europeans, just like the Spanish came into South America. The Protestants came into America and conquered the territory and took the land, and dealt with the Indians one way or another. So you can compare it to other countries. If you can't compare it to other countries, then you can't just write it by its own. It's like saying this woman is pretty, irrespective any other woman looks like. She's pretty by her own standards. She's, I think so. Now, if I turn her upside down, she's not pretty anymore, but that doesn't matter because there's nobody to compare her to. I think you have to compare America to other countries and at least compare it to itself in its own past. Right now, we're invading proxy wars. And the last wars we were invaded, the last military injustice action is Iraq and Iran, and also getting rid of Gaddafi in Libya. That was a U.S. action under Hillary Clinton. And those are crimes in the past. At least we're not doing those now. We're only doing a proxy war with Israel and Ukraine. Did I put you to sleep? Come on.
Huh?
You did.
No, I'm tripping out because the weather is all over the place and I have a problem, a mental problem. You know, like a person with arthritis can predict the weather a couple of days ahead because of the pains.
Yeah.
Well, I have that with my brain.
Uh-huh.
So if I nod off, it's not because I'm necessarily sleeping. That's why I took all those powders.
Yeah, I have the same thing. I nod off quite often, sitting somewhere But what with me, what's different about it is I tried explaining this to my wife. I'm not falling asleep. What happens is I'm sitting there watching TV or eating or whatever, doing the computer, and I start to dream. Not
Right.
not daydream. The dream starts.
No, right. I understand.
Dreams that the characters in the dream start saying, like, okay, let's go. We got to get there on time. That, the things that happen in dreams, right? You know,
Right.
when are we going to pay that ticket? And it's so the dream starts, or somebody's walking into the house and it's a dream, and then then I fall asleep into the dream. But I have a theory, and I'm going to tell you about that. I haven't told anybody. I think the dreams are other spirits recruiting actors, recruiting living people to have a dramatic into spectator, to have a drama to watch, just the way we watch TV. So they come and they crowd around and they start watching. They put you into a dream, because I've never had a dream. Well, usually don't have dreams where it's a recognizable location. It's always someplace I've never been. Usually. Do you dream a lot?
Um, I would imagine.
You don't remember them, right?
Some I do. However, I haven't written them down
Yeah,
quickly
yeah,
enough.
yeah. No, no, no. But I got a question for you. Have you ever seen yourself in a dream?
Let's see. Um, I'm unable to answer the question because I don't remember.
Okay. Well, I've never seen myself in a dream.
Can I ask you a question? What is this picture in the genocide?
What? I don't, I
The
closed.
thing you have posted here under genocide?
Where? What do you mean I posted?
Definitions of genocide.
It's
It's
still
it's
on your
on the
screen?
screen.
It's still on your screen?
Yeah.
I don't, oh, that's the three statues?
Yeah, what is that?
UN photo, I don't know. It must be
Oh,
a
it's on
memorial.
the UN? It's on the grounds of the UN?
There's photo, UN photo. No, it says UN photo. It doesn't give credits for the photo, but it's
Oh,
probably a
okay.
memorial. A
What does
memorial.
it look like though?
Three people. Oh,
I'm unable to
two
blow it
adults
up.
and a child. Two adults and a child.
Oh, okay.
I could find out what the picture is made.
No, it's not that important. I'll take a picture of it and see if I can.
Yeah, you can research it. I'm surprised you still see that.
It's there. If you slow down, I'll screenshot that.
And I left it alone now.
No, I'm talking about the next the definition.
Oh, you want to
Or
take
is there a way I can get to it?
Yeah, it's at un.org.
Uh-huh.
I'll send you a comment of the address, a chat. Can you see chats?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, don't do. Yeah, I still have yet to learn how to save the chat.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll email it to you. You can,
No, send it, text it.
uh,
Text it to
I can't,
347.
I can't text it because I'm not on the phone. I'm on the computer. Oh, wait a minute. I can text it. Hold it a minute. Hold it a minute. 1 second. 1 second only. I got that. Now, 1 second. Let me go here. This phone number I'm going to text it from is not the same as usual. Just 1 second. I think I go here.
See, if we would learn how to use these machines,
Hold on a minute. Wait a minute.
take your time. I'm not going anywhere.
Okay, I'm trying to find out where oh, here they are. Okay, start a new message. And I'm starting the message. What's your phone number?
347 382 0854. 347 382 0854.
Whoops. Okay, I got to start again. 347.
Right? 382
Oh, wait, hold on a minute. It keeps disappearing. Let me write it down separately so it doesn't disappear on me. 1 second. Okay. 347.
382
Yeah.
0854.
Okay. So now I got it. Now let me try and do it like this. Come here. Type a number. There it goes. Send to this guy. That's that. And now the question is, what's the message? Here's the message. Just a second. Here comes the message. Let me find that. There it is. Okay, here it comes. Can you check it? Did you get the message?
I think so. Hold on. Oh gosh. Yep. 310-800-1217. Is that you?
Yeah,
How come I don't have you bookmarked?
because it's a phone number associated with my computer, not my phone.
Oh, okay.
I can send
So
a text
if
message on
I
the computer.
add to contacts and put in Ken, hold on a second.
Ken's computer.
Oh crap! It won't. I
It
these
don't matter.
machines.
You got it. It's not going to go
Yeah,
away.
but when I went to save it, it didn't go to you. It went to a separate thing, so I have to save it a different way.
You want me to send it to you again?
No, I have it. It's
Okay.
cool. I just needed to figure out how to save your number.
Okay. Hey, it's pretty late.
It's 12
It's
o'clock.
almost
That's
midnight.
11:50. So it's what, 8:10 to 9?
Yeah. Over here in the land of sunshine and happiness.
Land of immigration.
That's California.
Mexico.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing now, okay?
Hey, whatever you want to do, boss. You're the man.
That's it. We're done there. And this is that. So close that. And there's just the two of us. So I'm going to wrap up here. This is the end of the going viral for April 9th, 2025. And all's well on the East Coast and the West Coast and in this wonderful land of ours.
And it is in your land.
This is
Turtle Island belongs to the indigenous people
why?
because it's actually it belongs to the deity and the indigenous people who were genocided.
Why?
Why were they genocided?
Why does it belong to
Because
most
why does
countries?
it belong to the deity?
Most countries have been conquered, and that the initial indigenous population is not there. Certainly true throughout Europe, and certainly true.
That's the problem.
Well, that's you're
Europeans
saying that
believe in
nobody
lack.
should. Yeah, but the same thing happened in South America, in Africa, in Europe, and Italy.
Yes,
Excuse me, in what do you call it? China, India. It's common. People fought for the land and they conquered and they took control of it. And usually they kill all the men between 18 and up, and they steal the women and children. And sometimes they kill the women and children too. That's the history of human beings. If you're proud to be a human being, it's in your heritage, you know. And when you get a person, I was wondering, like maybe you can answer this. A person like Obama, right?
yep,
If there was reparations, right? Wouldn't
yep.
he, wouldn't he have to cut a check and write a check to himself?
Why not?
So he writes a check. This is to Barack Obama or Barry, whatever his initial name was. So I'm writing a check for $4,000. Give it to
No,
himself and
his
not.
name on his birth certificate is Barack Hussein Obama.
Oh, really?
They called him, his nickname in Hawaii was Barry back when he was selling marijuana
Okay.
illegally. Read the book.
No, I don't like to read.
Have it read to you. You can download it from the internet.
1 second. I'm looking it up right now. I mean, I don't care where he was born myself. I was very pleased when he became. Who is Barry Sotoro? Barry Sotoro is Barack Obama. As per his birth certificate, Obama was born and
What was his name?
it says in short, Barry Sotoro is Barack Obama. As per his birth certificate, Obama was born in Honolulu.
And his mother and father named him Barry Centura?
No, no. His parents divorced in 1964 and his mother remarried in 1967. His stepfather is Lolo Sotoro. The family moved to Indonesia, where Sotoro is originally from, and Obama went to school there. During his
Right. He went to
childhood years in Indonesia,
Madrid.
he was nicknamed Barry, referred to Barry, so it's reflecting his father's family name. His stepfather was named that.
He
He
was
was clearly a
adopted.
U.S. born citizen. After having publicly released both a certificate of his long form birth certificate as well as a short form birth certificate, there is no doubt that he is indeed born in the United States of America, if you want to count Hawaii as part of Hawaii, signed a foreign sounding name. Okay. So anyhow, all right. So because he's half white and half black. So anybody who's half white and half black would have to pay would, if they got reparations, they'd have to pay themselves. Right?
You'd be paying yourself anyway if you're an American citizen. Where's the money going to come from to pay reparations?
Oh, I
It's
see.
going to come out of tax dollars, right?
Yeah.
And who pays the taxes?
Well, black people pay most of the taxes.
No,
Everybody.
I don't think they pay most of the taxes because percentage wise, um, I'm unclear what the percentage is. What percentage of the United States is of European descent? 66, right?
Yeah, something like no, no. Yeah, probably.
So who elects the president?
Who elects the president? People who voted.
Yeah. So if you got all the people who consider themselves white to vote, what do people of any color have to say about it? Nothing.
Okay. So it comes from everybody to the blacks only. But what if a person is only 50% black? Anybody who's got 10% black or 8% black, how black do you have to be to get a reparation? To
What
get
is what does the Constitution say?
doesn't say anything about reparations.
No, I'm talking about it defines I'm only three-fifths of a human being according to the Constitution.
Yeah, but that got overwritten. It used to be popular, but no, it doesn't fly anymore. So
Bottom line is I'm paying myself.
yeah,
if I get reparations, and I don't even get, I can't even get them to let me do that.
That's right. That's right. You got to be part of them instead of against them. You want to be the them that you're opposing. You don't want to be opposing them all the time. Because the things you're complaining about them are the things you want to accomplish. So become them. Then you can be more honest than they currently are, because you'll be them and you'll be better than they are now. But you got to become them. You can't win from the bottom. You can't go fishing from the bottom of the boat. You got to stand outside on the top of the boat. Well, that's a bad analogy. Anyhow, how about
First 5 Americans on the Forbes real-time billionaire list. Could you look up Forbes real-time billionaires?
no? I don't want. I want to go to sleep.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we call it a quit. The billionaires. There's lots of stuff about that, uh, but that's fine.
First 5 Americans on the Forbes real-time billionaires list, net worth $1 trillion.
Yeah,
So there is zero excuse for having any child in the United States having to go hungry.
yeah. Which I don't think could happen.
You don't think any children in the United States go hungry?
I've seen more. Yes, because I don't. That's not a problem because there's an obesity epidemic.
That's a different kind of hunger.
The kids are overweight, generally speaking. So you could find 2 or 3 kids that didn't eat something today. But generally speaking, the majority of children get fed. There's food stamps, there's free food in schools, there's all kinds of programs, there's welfare everywhere. And they eat. And even the homeless people eat. Otherwise, they'd be dead in the streets. They're not dying from starvation. They are dying from starvation. Some people are dying in Gaza, but not in New York City. There's enough food they can eat out of the garbage pails, or the restaurants that are the food kitchens. And that's the other part of it. Even if there is a situation, the question is there some effort being made to handle it? Because, as you well know, some people refuse help. They don't want the help. So you can't save everybody. And you don't have to, because they'll do better next lifetime. Okay? So all this has been recorded. It's all going to go up to the CIA and the FBI. Okay? So you guys who are watching this video, please don't get mad at me. None of this is all just part of a joke. I'm only pretending to be like this. My real name is Arthur Kennedy. Okay. Bye-bye. All right. Good night. Okay, Daryl?
Do I have a choice?
Yeah, you got a choice to say, okay, adios, good night, hasta luego, something like that.
Your wife is a saint beyond belief.
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, thank you for the compliment. I do my best to.
Ken, I'm trying to communicate and it's going because you don't believe.
I
I
don't.
guess I have to. Oh, Jimmy Breslin's on One. Or I mean, the author of the book on Jimmy Breslin. He died much too young. Remember Jimmy Breslin?
Yeah, briefly. I said, no, he's a New Yorker. He's outrageous. He's a New Yorker.
His wife, Richard Esposito, wrote Jimmy Breslin. His wife is still alive doing TV on CUNY TV.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Ronnie Eldridge.
Okay. TV
I
celebrity,
wish I
TV
had the money
celebrities,
today. I'd send you
TV
some.
celebrities are very, very well educated on their own careers. They're very well aware of what kind of persona, how many hits they get, why they're popular. Some of them are interesting and some of them are not.
So since they sold the building, which I can't believe they did,
The one you're living in?
KPFK.
Oh, yeah, but you're not there. You're not, you don't have the right to criticize because you didn't participate.
What do you mean?
Were you on the LSB?
Was I on the LSB? No, I'm on the cab.
Okay, good. So you went to the,
Why? How
well,
do you know it's good? Only God is good.
so yeah, that's right. You might have been destructive. You might
That's
have
what
been
Jesus
supportive
said.
or you might have been destructive. There's, I know some of the people there. What's her name? There's a terror. I can't remember her name. She's a black woman and she's kind of overweight, but she's very, very intelligent. And she's
Uh,
very over the
so,
top.
Serene
Serene,
Robert.
that's it. Serene Roberts. She's
She's
it.
a hard. She's been hurt.
She's hard,
Somebody hurt her bad. She's
but she's
like,
very,
woo.
very competent. She's very competent.
She's wicked.
Yeah, but competent, wicked, wicked. That's a bad combination. You know, I used to,
Once again, do
I
you
used to,
want the station or not?
I don't want the station. No, I was never the president. I was a chair. I was the chair of KPFK for a brief time, you know, and I've run campaigns for it. Whatever. I have a
Wasn't
theory. I have
wasn't
a
your
theory.
wife?
I have a
What?
theory that you might not like, which is this. If you,
Why would you start that way? Listen, Ken. Listen,
because I've
you got to
talked with
clean up your
people,
language, man.
okay,
I'm listening to you because I want to know what you think and how I can communicate with you.
okay. So what I think is, if, including myself, if people continue to associate with death, destruction, misfortune, hazards, calamities, and that's all they do. It's like, in other words, they watch uh, Democracy Now every day, and they watch reruns, and they watch. You mentioned her, or somebody mentioned her. The girl.
Serene Roberts?
No, Amanpour. You watch these shows, and all
Yes.
you see is about death and destruction and defamation, famine
The
and
news.
all kind of bad news, bad news, bad news, bad news, death and destruction, death and destruction. It wears you down, and you become morose and engulfed in
Only
tragedy.
if you don't have a spiritual practice.
No, it destroys your spirituality.
No, it doesn't. It lets me know what I need to do. And
Okay.
what I need to do is I need to get get sufficient capital to feed, clothe, house, use the latest technology. I don't know why they're still using freaking tents. Why don't they send over refurbished shipping containers? I mean, and have people live in that until you build them the house.
Why should you bother doing that?
Because it saves lives.
Why should you bother?
It's not a bother, it's a duty.
Why do you want to save lives?
My spiritual practice says I can do everything that Jesus did.
Oh,
I am the
wait a minute.
body of
Christian.
Christ.
A Christian. Okay.
Yeah.
What was
Well,
the
see,
what's the
actually,
wait a minute. What
Jim
is the
Dingman
reference?
just posted something on Facebook. Hold on a second.
I'm going to show you something on that. I'm going to show you something Jesus said.
Future NFL Hall of Fame coach Tom Landry studying a map before a mission. See more. Before a mission, Landry flew as a pilot on 26 missions in a Boeing B-17. Whoa, what was he doing? See the pilot? While serving with the 493rd Bombardment Group from Royal Air Force Die Bach. Wow. Doesn't
Okay,
say
so
what
listen to
what,
this.
what he
Listen to this. Listen to this. Matthew 26:11. You
Yeah,
will always have the poor with you. You will not always have me. The phrase reflects a reality acknowledged throughout Scripture, emphasizing the persistent presence of poverty in the world. The persistent presence of poverty in the world. It's a
that
fact
was
of
before
there will
Jesus died.
always be poverty.
No, that's not what the misunderstanding of the translation. That was before Jesus died,
Yeah.
right? After he died, read what it says after he died.
There's lots of poverty that existed after Jesus died.
I understand that just because there is no such thing as Christianity. It's only a fulfillment of Judaism.
There's never been more poverty than there is in the world right now because there are more people in the world than have ever existed before. Right?
That is
Eight and
correct.
a half billion people, that's a lot of people. It's going to be a lot more
And
slavery now than there ever was in the past.
that's true also.
There you
That's
go.
because Christians
Fighting a
are
losing
doing,
battle. You're fighting a losing battle by you want to cure the phenomenon, not the cause. You're not interested in handling the cause of these things. You just want to give people food and housing and care and medicine.
that's not
I
true.
want to deal with why they don't have it.
They don't have it
Because somebody
they've
else
been,
has it, you're going to say. Because
no,
rich people.
no,
They
they
don't
don't
have
have
it
it.
because they don't have anything that the world wants to exchange with them. They don't have anything that the world considers.
Oh, that's why the children in the Congo are digging out mines with their hands and then being undercompensated for the goods. It's capitalism, basically.
Oh, well, okay. So how is it in Russia and Cuba and Venezuela? How are they doing?
Russia is a capitalist country. Cuba is embargoed by the United
China is
States,
also capitalist.
but
What about China?
China's capitalist.
Okay, so where's the non-communist, what's the non-capitalist country?
Cuba.
Cuba's the only one. How are they doing?
No, it's not the only one.
Oh, what's another one?
Hold on a second. Venezuela is trying, but not doing very well at it.
Yeah.
Um, Off the top of my head, I'm unable to answer the question.
Uh-huh. Okay.
North Korea says it is, but it isn't. As far as socialist countries, Cuba's probably just about it.
Uh-huh. Well, it should work well for them. They should be happy and doing well. I know they,
No, they can't. They're unable to do it because the United States embargo.
yeah, that's true. It's a fact of life. They don't have the skill how to handle the United States to get them to stop. It's unfortunate. Okay, that's it.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap. That's it. That's good. That's equivalent to adios, amigo. I'll take that as an adios, amigo. Okay. Good night. I'm going to end it. Good night, everybody. The other two, three people are
I'll see
watching.
if I can get Dingman to answer. He did this an hour ago.
I'm going now. Here we go.
Unlikely. All right.
3, 2, 1.